James, in your business, there's two different ways that you can grow your business. One is on the financial services side, the other is on the recruiting side. You know, you have a rare combo. You've done outstanding on both sides. Talk about recruiting. For somebody to be successful on the recruiting side, what are some of the things that either you've done or you've learned through the years to be successful with recruiting?
You know, I think the biggest thing to be successful at recruiting is you've got to love it. You've got to love the fact that you're in the recruiting business. And the people that don't love it don't do well. That's true with anything, by the way, whether it's athletics, whether it's business, but specifically recruiting. I love to recruit. And I've kind of tried to analyze, well, why do I love to recruit? And I go back to a conversation I had with my dad when I was 12 years old and we were driving. My dad was a guy that always taught me about work ethic and money. And he said, Jimmy, there's two ways to make money, OPM and OPW. And I was like, man, what's that? He said, OPM is other people's money. And you know what? At 12 years old, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I do now, because that's our business, is if we manage money, we get a little piece of how well their money does. And so, you know, I can go out as a personal producer, make $1 million by gathering assets, putting them under management, and get paid on other people's money. But OPW is other people's work. And my dad always had people that worked for him in his real estate business. And he taught me as a young person, I would recruit the kids across the street to come over and help me stuff envelopes. And I would make 5 cents for every envelope that I would stuff. So I paid them 4 cents. And I would get as many people as I could to come over and stuff envelopes. And I'd always be like, no, let's do 100 more envelopes. Let's do more. And then I'd turn it all into my dad, and I'd get the money, and I'd pay him. And he loved it. He thought it was great that I was building a business and I was teaching them and stuff. And so I was meant to recruit. So when I found World Financial Group and they showed me how I could build a team and I could recruit, I just love it. So I love to sit down and talk to somebody about recruiting. If I were sitting down with a prospect today that made $1 million last year as a personal producer, I would talk to him about his opportunity to recruit and build a bigger business. And I guess one of the reasons why I love to recruit is lifestyle. It gives me freedom. It gives me lifestyle. It gives me control to do whatever I want to do. But also, I love it because, you know what, the people that I've recruited, like a Kent Doherty or a Jared Hendricks or a Butch Shalaya, these guys have gone on to make, $500,000 a year plus. They have multiple homes. They have incredible lifestyle. And I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of joy in knowing that, hey, I taught them. I introduced this to them. So I think the key is simple. You got to love it. You got to love what it can do for you, and you got to love what it can do for them. And just go do it. Go recruit.
And with recruiting, one of the challenges that I see a lot of people face in my business is the mindset about recruiting. And they literally tell me on a coaching call, they'll say, Eric, I'm not good at recruiting. And yet they're in a business that's the core of the business. And so can you talk about somebody who has a belief or a mindset that they're not good at recruiting? What advice would you give them? How would you coach them to get them to shift that around, to give them a new way of looking at it?
Oh, wow. Thank you for asking. That's a great question. I remember when I was a horrible recruiter, and I just couldn't recruit. But I wanted to be a recruiter. And so the first thing that I decided to do is I started telling everybody I was a great recruiter. And it was so ridiculous, and I loved how ridiculous it was. So I'd walk up to them and say, I'm the best recruiter you know. And they would just look at me. And these were people like at the supermarket that were like, what are you talking about? And I was just doing it just to get I needed to hear myself say it, because I knew that if I heard myself say it enough times, eventually I would believe it. And I'm telling you, within a week I started believing it, and I started walking with more confidence. When I started to sit down with an actual prospect, I was like excited to recruit them. So the advice I would give somebody who says they're not a good recruiter is change what you keep telling them. They keep reinforcing it. They keep saying I'm a bad recruiter. They keep reinforcing all this negative energy about, recruiting and, negative things. And the first thing you got to do is reverse the polarity. You've got to reverse your connection with it. And it's what you say to yourself that is the most important thing that you say. And so that's how I reversed it for me. And people look at me and go, is it really that simple? And the answer is, yeah, it is. What you tell yourself is going to make a huge difference in how you become.